Good morning and welcome back to Questioning Sense with me, Matt. I hope you guys are well. We're all good here. We have just had a bank holiday weekend in the UK, so that was nice. I managed to have some time off, went out with the family, went to a pub, had some lunch on the Sunday, overcooked it actually, and felt rough all day yesterday. So there you go. Anyway, I waffle. Today we are talking about a house that's quite close to my heart, Hudsons. Now I am a big fan of them. I have Hudsons 001, 002 and 003. Love them all. There are reviews of them on the channel. But it's been, sort of long coming, but they've extended their collection. And I was very, very happy to receive a little box came in the other day. And in that box was this pretty little bottle, which is Hudson's 004. And then they also very kindly sent me 005 and 006. So 3 new perfumes coming out. I think only 004 is actually available at the moment for you to purchase. They're selling them, I think it's only in these 15ml bottles at the moment. And I think they're £18 each or £19 each for these little 15ml bottles. So it's a really good way of testing the water. I'm assuming that they will be releasing them in sort of bigger 30 and 100ml bottles in time. Well, I hope so anyway, because they're really, really interesting perfumes. But obviously 5 and 6 aren't available yet. I don't even think you can get samples of them as yet. So we're not going to talk about them today. We are just purely here to talk about 004. Now, I'm wearing it today. I have done the school run. I should really be in a suit and tie for this, but, I'm not. So there you go. So I wore it this morning. I'm wearing it obviously now. So what we'll do is we'll have another little spray. And then we'll go through the notes and we'll talk a bit more about it. But this is an interesting perfume for me, and it's one that I think's been a little bit overdue. Hudsons, if you weren't aware, are a sort of quite a high-end barbershop in Ware in Hertfordshire. And then obviously what they did was they decided to add fragrances to their repertoire, like Trumpers and Penhaligons and people like that have done sort of previously. Hudson started to road test perfume with their customers effectively. So they, evolved this range of fragrances which carry a kind of a certain DNA too. If you've smelled any of the Hudson's fragrances, you will instantly kind of recognise them as a Hudson's fragrance. 1, 2 and 3 all are very different perfumes, but you can see that they're actually from Hudson's. So I like what they've done. They've developed this DNA, and I think they're going to try and carry it on with 4, 5 and 6. So what we'll do is we'll find out if it does still smell like a Hudson's 004, that is, what it's like, and why. When I say that this is kind of long overdue, when you have a fragrance house that has a history of being in the barber profession, or the men's grooming, hairdressing for want of a better word, you would expect them to have a barbershop fragrance, and finally now they do. But is it a good one? Well, let's find out. Okay, so let's get into it. So I'm going to have another little spray now, just so we can get that lovely opening. Obviously, I'm wearing it, so the dry down is in full effect. While we're letting that settle down, we'll have a look at the notes. So at the top, you have violet, you have powdery notes, and you have lily. Then you have white flowers, you have clove, you have bay, you have rosemary, and you have leather. And then on the base, you have patch, you have musk, you have amber, moss, and guitwood. Now, when I first sprayed this, I was instantly reminded of another barbershop that I absolutely love, and that is Eucharis by Trumpers. Now, Eucharis is a dark, foreboding, gothic, almost menacing barbershop, and that's purely down to the really, really heavy, spicy opening with sort of a real intense kind of muskiness. There's some real, there's cumin, there's all sorts of spices and stuff like that create this dark and foreboding fragrance. This is dark at the top, but it's not foreboding. It's not got the menace that Eucharis has. And if you spray them side by side, they don't smell that much alike, but they are kind of reminiscent of each other. And the reason for this is when this hits your skin, you've got a real darkness which comes from a very intense patchouli, which bizarrely is on the base, but it's incredibly noticeable straight away. It also, I wouldn't be surprised if I found out that they'd used a tiny bit of oud in the opening on this one. Now, Now, Hudsons have used oud in various other, I think it's in 01, and I think there's a little bit in 03 as well, or maybe there is a little in 02 too. 02 too, hey, that's easy to say. So it wouldn't surprise me if there is. Now, it's not an animalic or barnyard or skanky oud, it just gives a little bit of intensity and some darkness, if it's actually in there. Now, I'm pretty aware that the notes that are listed aren't, you know, inclusive of everything. I'm sure there's some support notes in here as well. But it's a dark opening, and it's rather lovely. The perfume itself seems to be back to front, so it starts off dark and heavy and gets lighter, whereas generally speaking, I kind of find perfumes start off quite light and get darker as they evolve. But, you know, I digress. So it's lovely, but it is quite intense. And what happens is you have this real, I don't know, it was a bit of a shock to the system, to be honest. I wasn't expecting it to be quite this heavy, especially when I'm expecting a barbershop fragrance, which this is. So you have this kind of intensity that then starts to open up and let some of the other notes shine. You have some florals, you have your classic bay and rosemary combination that come in, and a very light leather. As this develops, the patch seems to return, it comes back, but not quite as intensely as it does on the top, which is really nice. And then you have this mossy, kind of musky dry down, which is lovely. I don't get too much amber, even in the deep dry down. It just seems to be quite a polished fragrance. Now, when it comes to, you know, who's going to wear this, this is certainly pitched for the more mature fragrance enthusiast. I don't think the thrusters are going to particularly love this one, purely because it's a barbershop. Now, as a barbershop genre, it's been around for a very long time. So a lot of people think barbershops are quite dated. Now, to me, I think, you know, if you look at Azaro or Rive Gauche or some of the older ones, they are quite dated. But I think there's a lot of more modern takes and barbershops coming out and out there now. So it's not, you know, this is certainly in the more modern sort of camp, should we say. It's not it doesn't smell like an old-fashioned perfume at all. It smells really nice. If you like things like Tom Ford's Beau de Jour, you will like this because it kind of does that Beau de Jour thing in the dry down, but not in the opening. In the opening, it's much darker. And it's lovely. It really is nice, but you know, it's a real journey of a fragrance. And I think what they've done is they've done this really well because, you know, as I mentioned, Hudsons do have a DNA in their perfumes and it's quite important to them. And this doesn't smell like 001, 002 or 003 at all. But it has kind of got that unique quirkiness that makes you think, oh yeah, this is easily, you know, fits in with the Hudsons repertoire. This is perfectly at home in their collection of fragrances. They've continued the line basically, and they've done it very well. Now, when it comes to performance, this is a barbershop, so it's never going to be a boost. It's never going to be a beast. It's never going to fill a room because it's not designed to. When I took my son to school this morning, I noticed that I was in a real bubble of it. So for the first hour or so, you have some good projection, but you have this wonderful sillage. It really does kind of follow you around. You know, it's lovely. But after that sort of hour, maybe an hour and a half maximum, it kind of drops off and sits much closer to the skin, which is what it's supposed to do. It's a barbershop. And it lasts quite well. I think so far 7 or 8 hours seems to be where I'm starting to struggle to find it. So for me to wear this to work would be absolutely fine. You know, by the time I'm sort of on my way home from work, it will be a skin scent, which is absolutely perfect. But what it will do is it will enable me to smell very masculine and very fresh throughout my working day. And what I also like is they've resisted the urge to go down the freshy with loads of bergamot, loads of lemon, you know, sort of orange blossom and things like that. They've not done that at all. They've taken a herbal approach to freshness, and it works really well. It's a sophisticated fragrance. It's a very smartly dressed fragrance. You know, I should be in a suit, but I'm not. T-shirt and jeans, that's how we do it here. But basically, you can really dress this one up. And I think it will be nice casual. You know, I would wear it casually. I'm pretty much casual all the time. But if you worked in an office, it would be a really good one for that. And if you were going out for an elegant evening, it would be perfect for that too. So I think all in all, they've made a very nice perfume. I think it's a really good one. And I do hope that the bigger bottles will come out because I'm certainly going to plough through this 15ml. It's not going to take me very long to finish it. So I will be hankering for a bigger bottle when they arrive. So in closing, Hudsons have done really well here. What they've done is they've got 1, 2 and 3, which are now pretty well established. And, you know, there's a lot of people that are real fans of the house. And I think the house will grow, definitely. This won't be the perfume that revolutionises Hudsons. It won't put them on the map as a contender in modern perfumery at all. But what it does do is it gives them a traditional barbershop fragrance that's slightly different to anything else out there. There's obviously, I've mentioned it's similar to others, but it is unique enough to be a perfume that people really, really enjoy. If you like barbershops, that's what you've got to take away from this. I strongly recommend that you get a 15 ml of it. It's a great way to do it rather than sort of lash out on 100 ml, because then you'll know straight away. But I can tell you now, if you like barbershop fragrances, you will like this one. It's just that little bit different. I love the heavy, dark opening, that comes through to this clean and refined barbershop. It's very, very good. It's well put together, and it smells great. I can't really sort of say too much more than that. I mean, I never used to get that excited about barbershop fragrances. I think they were all a bit like, yeah, well, but as my nose has changed and I've grown up and I've got more sort of into fragrance, I don't need to have a really interesting screaming fragrance on all the time. There are certainly lots of opportunities in my life to wear something like a barbershop, and I'm finding that I'm gravitating much more towards these kind of fragrances, and this is one that I really enjoy. So this is a definite positive review from me. I think it's a very good fragrance. I think you're going to like it, and I think you should try it. So there you have it. That's my take on Hudson's 004. When 005 and 006 get released, then I will go back and we will get videos out for those as well. But there's no point me spending ages telling you about a wonderful perfume that you can't actually get your hands on. So that would be a bit pointless. So there we go. We'll leave it at that. 004, an excellent barbershop fragrance, a very good addition to the collection that Hudson's already have. And I think it's going to be a good one. And I think it will do well. So there you have it. Thank you very much for your time. It's always a pleasure. And we shall see you on the next video. So cheers, thanks, and bye.